Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. Hope you're doing well today. It is November 19th, year of our Lord 2025. It is 4 o'clock here in Amarillo, and we are seeing a lot of those higher clouds just stream across the area. Again, we are out ahead of that next closed upper level low that's going to provide us with that chance for rain tomorrow. And maybe even into early Friday morning. Just depends on how quick this system is as it moves through the plains. But does look like rain likely at this point. We've got a 100% chance for some rainfall in Amarillo. That's for measurable moisture. Again, the chance for a half inch to an inch, maybe not that high, but it does look like we will see a meaningful amount for most of the area. It has been very dry as of the last 6 weeks, so this is great news for our ag producers here across the high plains, as well as those that just, again, maybe don't want to have to water their yard 24/7. So here's a live look outside in Dumas. You can see some of those mid to high level clouds passing through the area. Again, that's a lot of that Pacific moisture that's pushing across the overhead. We still need some of that low level moisture, and that is going to come throughout today and into tonight and tomorrow as that warm front starts to surge north. We will start seeing those rain showers become more numerous in coverage moving into Thursday morning. But right now, 71 here in Amarillo, a bit colder there in Dumas at 64 degrees, 75 in Childress. Winds are out of the southwest. They're around 5 to 15 miles per hour. It is a light wind day today, and we will start to see those clouds continue to fill in overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning. So this is 7 o'clock Thursday. This is as you're getting ready to head out the door, send the kids out to school, or maybe a little bit before then. We are expecting those showers to be scattered, probably favoring our western counties early in the day. As we get further into the morning and afternoon, that first round going to continue to sweep in the northeast direction. These are likely going to be just general rain showers, maybe a few weak thunderstorms embedded in there, but we don't really anticipate any severe storms with this stuff as it moves through. A lot of that stuff is going to stay staged well to our south, back down towards central Texas, where they even have a marginal risk for today. Technically, there's a marginal risk for Childress and Paducah. I just don't think we're going to see any of those storms come to fruition this afternoon. As we get into Thursday evening, riding home after work, you can see another kind of scattered round of storms moving through the region. These will probably be more thunderstorms, but we don't expect them to be very strong. But they could produce some moderate rain rates close to about an inch an hour, half inch or so an hour, and that's what's going to really lead to some of those heftier totals for us by the time we see the system come to an end. As we move into Friday morning, we'll start off with the west wind, but we do get an additional push. In theory, this is a cold front coming through. Again, this is just all that cold air north of the system being displaced to the south as the atmosphere tries to reach equilibrium with warm air to the south and cold air to the north. And so we get that storm system to develop and try and kind of mix in some of that that cold weather here further into our area. But it does look like we are going to be a little chilly on Friday, especially behind that boundary. Clouds going to stick around. If those clouds hang overhead, it could be a pretty cold day Friday, especially up in the Oklahoma Panhandle. So here's our chance for a half inch of rain. Again, that's a 100% chance that we get something measurable tomorrow, but it's about a 60% chance that we get to a half inch of rain here in Amarillo. That also includes Borger and Dumas, as well as Perryton and Vega. A higher probability for a half inch of rain really still favors that southeast part of the Texas Panhandle. We have shifted it west some compared to what we showed you yesterday. Just looks like some of the high resolution models were really trying to bullseye maybe some better storm coverage down here in the southeast, where we get probably some good coverage of showers up here, but no thunderstorms. And again, those lighter rain rates probably going to make it hard to achieve some of those higher amounts unless it just rains all day, which we don't expect that to happen. This is going to come in waves. You may have 2 or 3 rounds of showers come passing through. So the odds of getting to an inch of rain drop even further, but those better chances going to be down in the southeast half of the Texas Panhandle. Our highest probability that we have draped over here is 40%. That will include Tulia, Silverton, to the north-northeast up towards Pampa, Shamrock, and Canadian, as well as Clarendon. So about the eastern third to eastern half of the Texas Panhandle is really where we think kind of those higher totals are going to be more common. Doesn't mean you can't have an inch of rain out towards Vega in Dumas or Dalhart. That's just not the general consensus. The consensus is you guys will have some lighter amounts of rain out there on the order of about a quarter to a half inch, which is about a month's worth of precipitation, about 2 weeks worth of precipitation for us. So this is still going to be a decent amount of moisture, even though it doesn't feel like a whole lot. Would love for everyone to see a half inch to an inch of rain. If you missed a good rainfall this time, don't fret. We actually have another system hot on the heels of this one, which actually is something that models are also coming in line with, it taking another similar track as the first system. And it's going to take a negative tilt that's going to wrap in some of that low level moisture, and that's going to probably provide another good opportunity for some rain. Likely on Sunday evening, that could certainly linger into Monday as well. Models are still a bit wishy washy on the exact timing of when that low comes pushing across and overhead. But the general consensus is Sunday evening into Monday morning is probably going to be when those rain chances spike with that second storm system. Not expecting winter weather with it here in the viewing area. Maybe some mountain snow possible with that second storm system, but it's not going to be cold enough, and temperatures here at the surface certainly aren't going to be cold enough for us in the panhandles to have any kind of winter weather associated with that. And even eastern New Mexico, it's going to likely be just a colder rain event on Sunday into Monday. Now, as we move into the second half of November, I mean, we're like wrapping up November, moving into December. There have been a lot of teleconnections and good signs pointing towards us having a cold air outbreak. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull a couple of things over for you guys, and I want to talk about this. So I'm going to show you the EPO first, the East Pacific Oscillation. So what this is a good indicator to utilize to see ridging basically over Alaska. And when we get these big domes of high pressure to build in over Alaska, that usually funnels a lot of cold air through Canada and into the plains. And that is where we reside here in the Texas Panhandle. So when this thing goes negative, this is usually a good sign that there's going to be some ridging up over Alaska. And so that's one indicator that we could start seeing some colder air really start to introduce itself further south as we move into that first week or first 2 weeks of December. The GFS, you can see the deterministic model, definitely really, really cold here in the last run, but the general theme is, again, probably pretty warm for the next couple days, and then it just, that ridge builds in over Alaska, and we'd start seeing maybe the opportunity for some of that cold air in Canada to escape south. And the same story goes for the Canadian ensemble as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the PNA. This has been relatively neutral. Models have been kind of just shifting back towards a not favored to have a trough east or west, right there kind of around what would be considered normal. And so there's no real good signs on where exactly these troughs set up, but if you do get a ridge over Alaska, I would certainly favor that there's probably going to be some troughing at least over the central portion of the country, if not in the eastern portion of the country. So I would certainly lean towards a little bit on the negative side here with our Pacific North American oscillation. You can see the European kind of still stuck in the middle ground as well. And then the Arctic oscillation, something to keep an eye on is if this thing goes way negative, we may have a really good burst of cold air come pushing through. Another thing I'm going to show you is that stratospheric warming event. This is something that we've talked about the last couple of days. So this is just temperature anomalies over the North Pole, and this is way up in the atmosphere. This is not associated directly with what's happening at the surface. It's still very much cold weather there over the North Pole and Greenland and in the Canadian provinces. But you can see as we get further into time, and this is kind of a newer run still coming in right now. Let's go to the 12Z. You can see as we move into the first couple days of December, we get this almost cross polar flow. It's certainly a disruption in the polar vortex. And when we get these disruptions, it basically just allows for those strong winds way up in the atmosphere, which usually keep all that cold air bottled up over the poleward region. It becomes weaker, and that allows a lot of that cold air to escape. So a lot of these signs are starting to kind of overlap each other. And so we're growing more and more confident that we're likely going to see some kind of cold air being spilled south at some point in December. We may kind of get an early taste of it with the EPO going positive and seeing, again, a big ridge build in over here at the surface. If we get another ridge to build in over here in the North Atlantic and back over into Greenland, all of that cold air is going to get pinched, and it's probably going to become what we call cross-polar flow, coming from Siberia over to Canada and then down into the eastern two-thirds of the country. So there's pretty good signs. I think that this December could be a colder one to remember. Maybe not record setting, but definitely should be maybe colder than average, or at least several shots of cold air. This is not atypical for La Nina. I know La Nina, we tend to get these, baked in, stereotypes that, well, it's always hot and dry in the South Plains whenever we get into a La Nina. And generally speaking, we are warmer than average in the long term of a La Nina, and we are normally drier than normal. But we can get these cold air outbreaks during a La Nina year. We get these cold air systems to come pushing through the plains. We end up normally on the backside of them, and they do tend to be drier than they are wet for us. But it's not uncommon. In fact, it's actually very, very common for us to have several shots of really potent cold air during La Nina seasons. It's just a matter of how often it happens, or kind of that in between time we get ridging to build back in. That blocking ridge out towards our west southwest continues to be dominant, blocks any of that subtropical jet from providing any moisture, and our hotter days tend to outweigh that really cold, 3 to 5 day stretch we get when we get these cold air intrusions from the north. I also do want to show you a couple of other things. So we've got a 100% chance of rain Thursday. You can see this is a European ensemble showing every single model run has us with precipitation. As we move out into Monday, it looks like Sunday night into Monday, there's still very good agreement with this, even about 84 hours out as well. And this is that next storm system that we're starting to grow more confident that we'll probably have some additional rainfall to contend with, even if you don't see a whole lot with this next storm system. So we're growing confident about the cold air next week with another front coming through around Thanksgiving. You can see this is Friday. There's a very weak signal, maybe some light precipitation, maybe behind that front, something to just kind of monitor. Again, there's not a very good strong signal there. There is a stronger signal, though, moving into that first couple of days of December. And I want to go ahead and show you kind of that 24-hour that snowfall for each ensemble run. So these next two events, it's going to be rain. Don't bank on anything other than rainfall from these next two storm systems if you're here in Amarillo. As we get into the end of next week, there's a couple of outlier solutions, maybe pointing towards a small taste of winter weather, but maybe a stronger signal moving into that first week of December. It's really just going to come down to how that trough evolves as we get closer. So that'll be another thing that we need to keep an eye on, though, as we get closer to December 1st. Again, if we maybe start seeing that chance for some snow, or even just winter weather in general starting to become a little bit more popular in the ensembles. But right now it's kind of split 50-50. Half of them keep us dry, or if we do see precipitation, it's showing it as rainfall. And then the other half, as you could see, kind of a very wide scenario on how much snow we could see. But there are a few of them out there that maybe suggest that early December might be that first chance that we see for some winter weather. And as far as temperatures are concerned, I mean, you can see that we're still favored to be a little bit below normal in that window. And so that would certainly help kind of support that thought process too. Here's your 7-day tracker. Guaranteed rain tomorrow. Not going to rain all day. You'll see a couple of waves come through, probably one earlier in the morning, get a break or a lull in activity for a couple of hours, and then you'll get another round later in the day, perhaps 2 or 3 additional rounds, just depending on where you're at. But everyone should see at least 1 or 2 rounds of rain on Thursday. Some of us may see 4 or 5. Sunday and Monday, we've got that next system coming through. You can see it keeps us pretty cool with all that additional cloud cover, 50s for those high temperatures, 60% chance of rain Sunday in the evening. At least that's where we're leaning right now. And then I want you to see Wednesday here at the end of the 7-day. We have got a high temperature forecast of 47 degrees. This is that first shot of truly cold air, that first taste or bout of winter that we might be dealing with. It's going to be pretty strong winds behind that cold front. 47 will not feel like 47. Right now it's expected to arrive sometime Wednesday, could be early in the morning. And there's a lot of strong signals that we could fall well below freezing in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. Now, it does not look like this will be a wet system coming through on Thanksgiving. So there's that silver lining. If you have plans to travel for Thanksgiving, I would still keep them. Still plan on doing what you've got going on. But we do need to keep an eye on it. Lots of people like to travel for the holidays. And it does look like we are going to be probably fairly cold this year for Thanksgiving. We may struggle to get out of the 40s for highs in the afternoons. And there's a couple of solutions suggesting we might even stay in the 30s 4 highs on Thanksgiving afternoon. So that'll be another thing to watch. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that like button. We have got a show at 5, 6, and 10 o'clock tonight, so we look forward to seeing you then.